That's an excellent observation. It is an election year, so there would always be some sort of political ferment in Israel. That's certainly the case 3 months ahead of an election that's being described as especially fateful, certainly for Netanyahu, whose career many opposition figures in Israel would like to see put to an end. He's flying out, though, at a juncture, a geopolitical juncture, that is no less important, arguably far more important for the Israelis, given this strange pause now in that flare-up between the US and Iran, 3 or 4 nights without US attacks on Iranian targets, as the Americans are giving diplomacy a chance. Netanyahu says he'd like to see diplomacy work. However, one assumes he will also be discussing with the US president further military options and the downstream effects on the region.
Let me close the loop here. Paul Swinney wants to jump in, but let me ask this question quickly, Dan. Can President Trump affect the political future of Mr. Netanyahu?
He certainly can. And the question is, will he do so? I think he's a man that understands power politics, especially and including with his own friends. He understands that power. He'll be toying with that ability. However, given that Trump closed a ceasefire with the Iranians that many Israelis saw as inconclusive, as unsatisfactory, it could be, despite his great popularity among Israelis as a foreign leader, that Trump's say-so, his say on Netanyahu, will not carry enough weight in this election to take Netanyahu across the line. Again, polls show that Netanyahu is still putting up a very strong fight. He's pretty much neck and neck with the front runner to topple him from the opposition. I think, though, it can't hurt for Netanyahu to show Israelis that he has closed ranks anew with the number one ally, with the president of the United States. Keep in mind that only recently Trump was publicly inveighing against Netanyahu about issues to do with Iran, about issues to do with the war's second front in Lebanon. There was a sense that perhaps he had tired, perhaps he had soured on the Israeli Prime Minister, at least if they have a nice picture in the Oval Office, comments to the press in the presence of one another, smiles among friends. That will go a long way toward allaying that concern in Israel and showing that Netanyahu still understands how to massage feelings in the White House and how to get on with the US president.
Dan, is there any tangible, objectives for Mr. Netanyahu for his short visit here to Washington?
Again, it's worth remembering that the main visit, as we understand it, is to show respects for Senator Lindsey Graham, much loved and much mourned in Israel, as in Ukraine and elsewhere. He's being laid to rest this week after his sudden passing a couple of weeks ago. So on Tuesday, tomorrow, there will be a closed-door memorial service in a cathedral that Netanyahu plans to attend, along with his members of his retinue, senior members of his retinue who had contacts with the senator over the years. That will be close to the press as well. But beforehand, there will be that White House meeting. And then in this rather brisk visit, some 48 hours, one assumes Netanyahu will have more discreet conversations, not just about Iran, but about knock-on fronts, diplomatic and military, what will happen with Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Lebanon, Syria, and of course Gaza, where they're now trying to resurrect that Trump plan for peace.
Dan, let me ask the uninformed surveillance question of the morning. This popped into my puny brain here on a summer Monday. Dan Williams, over the weekend, the simple zeitgeist was America's run out of missiles. Can we borrow missiles from Israel?
That's a very good question. The systems work in sync. They're not interchangeable in terms of the ammunition. So the simple answer is no. However, the Israelis have been quietly offering some of their systems to US-aligned allies in the region, especially in the Gulf. The systems work together, and one assumes that those Israeli systems, to the degree that they bring firepower comparable to the American firepower, could also extend some kind of envelope over US forces in the Gulf, not just the clients, the Gulf Arabs that have received them and are using them. They work together. They're not interchangeable in terms of simply handing over interceptor missiles from one to the other.
Dan, what is the average Israeli today on the street? What do they want here for that region of the world and the U.S.? What's the feeling these days?
I think they'd like to see, after more than 2.5 years of war, a war that began in Gaza in October 2023 and really turned into an unprecedented regional war on many fronts, and has actually expanded now to create some diplomatic headaches for countries in which they're not at war, but we're hoping for more accommodation with, Saudi Arabia and Turkey specifically. I think they want to see some calm and they want to see something conclusive. This war has been very costly for Palestinians, Lebanese, Iranians. It's also been very costly for Israelis.
Right.
It's worth remembering that the number of soldiers lost by Israel in 2 years of fighting, the main fighting adjusted for population size, is more than 4 times the number of US soldiers lost by the United States in the entirety of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. That is a major cost in blood, in treasure. The country needs a morale boost in terms of seeing that this was all worth it.
One final question, Dan. There's clearly, over the weekend, any number of bar charts that show the swing in more left Democratic Party politics in America away from support of Israel. How does Mr. Netanyahu speak to the right and the left of America?
I think right now he will be focusing on Israel's war aims. I'm not sure he will be casting a very wide net to restore bipartisan support. I'm not sure it's something that's in the offing right now. There is some speculation that if he is voted out of office come October, Israel may be able to change its branding at the highest levels and change opinion in the United States. Time will tell if that's possible.